and I have to take because when you stop meth, if you're doing it for a long time, you got to crash for like a week or two. Like you just sleep and eat sugar and then go back to sleep. And so I was like, I don't have time to do that. So I bought like a couple of 8 balls of meth and took them on the tour all summer.
Wow.
And that was the worst.
I saw somewhere in the movie where your parents said they didn't even, your mom said in hindsight 2020, she realized all the signs. But at the time, she didn't even know, or they weren't even aware that you were that addicted to meth and on drugs.
Right. I would play it off. I look successful.
Yeah.
You got probably a couple different types of addicts. It's the functioning addict and the non-functioning addict. That's just, and I was a pretty high-functioning addict. I could do all kinds of things, and I played my parts with the band. I was just socially a recluse.
Yeah. At some point, Brian, in the midst of all of this crazy, what some people would call a successful life, somebody introduces you to the message of Christ. Somebody introduces you to the Bible, because you didn't grow up in it, right?
No.
Okay. So at what age, or give us, that experience. How did you have that encounter?
Well, I was the type of guy that, would flip through the channels and be like, land on TBN or a Christian channel and be like, and who knows what I said back then.
Right.
But just, mocked it or whatever. And then, fast forward years and years later, I got to this point where I was on that 2-year binge, right? And I wanted to get clean. I had talked to a couple outpatient rehab places, one in Bakersfield and one in Hollywood. And they both were telling me we don't have as much success with meth addicts as we do with other drug addicts. And I'm just like going,
wow.
So what are you telling me? What can you do for me? And they're like, well, we can try, we just have to be honest with you, and you can do it. You can, if you set but I wasn't given like a lot of hope, and so I was just thinking like, because by that time I was like, I do not want to exist anymore. I'm a shell walking around with nothing of substance inside. And I got all kinds of money in the bank, but I just don't want to wake up when I go to sleep. I just wish that I could just stay asleep. And, and the only thing that made me want to breathe and live was my daughter. So I'm thinking, I just need to get off the drugs, and so I could just be the best person I could be for her. But then I would have the thoughts when I get back on the drugs or do another line, and that would wear off, I would think, man, she'd better off without me. And I'd start going through the suicidal the thoughts and everything. And so it was a tug of war, but I told you that I was a functioning drug addict. I had these partners that were doing real estate deals. They were buying land and developing, and I became a partner with them. And money was like my thing. I never liked to spend it. I always liked to make it grow. That was my thing before. And so these guys were growing their money, and so I blended right with them. And so I was attracted to them and their business through that, and they actually were Christians. Wow. So God was using my money idol, if you will.
Right.
And so I
pulling you in.
Yeah. And so I did a business deal with them. We bought some land, and you could tell, man, I was on meth, and anybody could tell something was a little off, Right. And so they ended up just talking to me, and they invited me to go to church one day, and I'm like, I used to mock it when I was growing up, and but I did ask Christ in my heart when I was 12 through some neighbors. But so I held on to that, and when they asked me to come to church, I'm like, all I was thinking was like Ned Flanders from The Simpsons, and it's like, I'm like, okay, they're not kind of like I am, but they're not the same type of person I am, but maybe they're probably sober. So if I go there, it'll be like a community of sober people. I thought Christians that didn't party, that's what I thought. And then I get there and I hear about this Jesus Christ who's real, the Son of God who was here and, died on the cross and raised from the dead and came and would come to live inside of me. So, but I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around. I'm like, so this guy came and walked on the earth in a robe and did miracles, and then died on the cross, and then raised back to life, and now he's going to come live inside of me. I'm like, how does that happen? You know, and, but, you know, you could feel the presence and everything at that church, what they took me to, and I'm like, man, these people are either crazy or they have the meaning of life. And I started thinking back when I asked Christ in my heart, and I'm like, maybe that was where my journey went the wrong way. Yeah. You know, maybe that's why, sure, I got money, success, and fame and everything, but I don't know who I am. Maybe that's where I went off track. And so I was just like, I raised my hand and I went home and I started praying to God like I had been a Christian for 20 years. I was desperate.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful, right? Beautiful. When you have this experience and when you have this re-encounter, if you will, with the Lord, is it a gradual turnaround or is it an overnight turnaround as far as your addiction and your lifestyle at that point?
It was pretty overnight when I think about, you know, it was just a couple weeks, 3 weeks or something, but man, the pastor was so cool there. He just talked about, like, he was in jeans and a regular shirt. He didn't look like holier than thou. And he just said, look, man, if you're on drugs, if you're messed up, if you have a bad marriage, you're alcoholic, you come to church while you're messed up. Yeah. Bring all your garbage here, yeah. and God will come in and clean you out, yeah. You know? So it was like non-judgmental, and so I kept going. I was high on meth going to church, you know, and I'm like, I would tell God, like, I want to get off this stuff. You know, my daughter deserves a better father, and I want to be what she deserves.
Somewhere in there, I don't want to give too much away or try to tell your testimony, but at some point you end up going broke, and it still doesn't quite put your relationship with your daughter back together. There's a whole little process there that's going on. I know I'm not doing it justice because there's a lot, but just talk about for a little bit how that after you got saved and how you got radically saved, you start this journey that you think is going to make everything better, but it doesn't quite go that way. Talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah, so I met Christ. He's the light of the world. He became a man, but like his spirit, his light came into me, and I knew he was real. And I had some intimate encounters like right away. Mm-hmm. And so I was just instantly addicted to that relationship. It was like all in. And so the first year was like amazing. I'm going to be the best dad I could be. It was focused on Christ and my daughter. That was it. And I wanted to learn this life, you know, get to know how to walk with him. And I was hoping for a quick healing, you know. Yeah. And then the old issues started coming back up. And, you know, there was a lot of conversations that I had with God about, you know, him taking his time and healing me, you know, but then I was
thinking it's going to be yeah.
And then I was like, but okay. Then I would come back to my senses and be like, I did this damage to myself. Why am I mad at you? But then I would meet someone at some church or something. They'd be like, yeah, I was just instantly, my anger's gone right when. And I'm like,
what happened? right. Like, what's up?
And I got holes in my walls. Yeah. You know? And so I went through all that. My daughter grew up, and it was fine. She saw some things. I dealt with anger and rage while a Christian, you know, as a Christian. She saw some things that she shouldn't have, but we had some great times as well. But she turns like, you know, early teens. Her mom's still not in her life really, a little bit, but not much. And so all these issues with her start coming to the surface. And, you know, I lost everything. I lost my house. I lost 2 cars, 2 working vans. I went broke. And everything. And I got through it. It was awesome though, because I learned a lot to trust God that if you have plenty or if you're in lack, he'll always take care of you. Yeah. It doesn't matter. So it was good. But how I lost it was hard. My daughter even saw it. You know, I got ripped off by some people, and they were supposedly Christians, and she's like seeing this. She's like, I don't want to be a Christian. Right. What all these people doing to my dad? They're saying can't be a Christian and have tattoos, and people are just judging me. She's like, I don't want nothing to do with this, and so she starts going through depression too.
You pick up right where you left off, but I just want to jump in right quick. What do you say? Because it seems to me like a lot of times people don't want to come to Christ, or they don't want to come to church. They don't want to watch a show like this or watch this channel for a lot of these reasons that you're talking about. That, you know, you go broke if you become a Christian, or it's not, you know, or somebody wants your money, or somebody else's that's just after you. What do you say to people that, you know, because you've been on both sides of the wall. What do you say that kind of, not necessarily kills that argument, but just kind of brings light to what's truly going on here when you talk about relationship with the Lord?
I just feel like, man, people, if you're going to let man chase you away from God, from their mistakes, then after your life's over, you're going to really regret that, because it's like, that's why Jesus says, forgive 99 times. I mean, you're the preacher.
7 times
So,
70.
Oh,
yeah.
That's 99's a sheep, right? Okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm still learning.
He goes after the one. That's
I'm
great.
still learning.
Great.
7 times 7 or whatever.
7 times 70.
So that's a lot of forgiveness. Jesus says forgive over and over, basically, because people are screwed up. Christians, Lord, give me patience for a lot of Christians out there.
Well,
too,
because you said in the movie, I thought I had to fix myself first, get off drugs, alpha meth, then go to church. I thought I saw that in the movie where you said something like that, and that's why you didn't go to church at first. You thought you had to fix yourself first.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought if I walk into church, I'd blow up like a, because God will judge me,
Right.
He'll like splat me because I'm on meth in his house or whatever,
Right.
You have all these preconceived ideas.
What I think is so interesting about your story, Brian, is that you don't fall one time. It's a journey, and you are saying today that God still accepts you with your journey or with your process. Is that what you're saying?
I feel like He loves failure so much. He loves the biggest messes, man, because that's where He shines, Yeah, He's so good.